And good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me here today. Purpose of today is to, basically I'm going to be seeking public's assistance in locating some outstanding individuals that have been identified in some of the investigations that have been undertaken by the whole squad in the year of 2022. I'd like to provide an update on a few of last year's robbery investigations and, like I said, seek continued assistance in locating these individuals. They were alleging that the roles that they played in these robberies, extremely violent robberies, require your assistance. The first of three incidents I'm going to share with you today took place in the evening of Friday, July 29th, 2022, minutes before 8 p.m. It took place at a hair salon in the area of Kennedy Road and McNichol Road in Toronto. Three suspects wearing masks entered the salon where approximately 15 people were located within, including employees and customers. Two of the suspects immediately ordered everyone to the ground and made demands for money. The third suspect produced a handgun, ordered everyone to the floor while pointing the gun at the employees. The suspects removed a quantity of money from the cash register and also stole a purse belonging to one of the employees. The three suspects fled the location on foot, and thankfully there were no physical injuries. They obtained a quantity of money, a purse containing personal identification, bank cards, and credit cards. A warrant has been issued for the arrest of Ibrahim Mohammed, Ibrahim Mohammed, Mohammed, 22 years of age, of Durham Region. He is wanted for the offenses of robbery with a firearm, disguise with intent, and conspiracy to commit an indictable offense. He's described as male black, having a light brown complexion, medium build, 5'9", short curly hair, and possibly unshaven. He should be considered armed and dangerous. The additional unknown suspects are described as being male black, 5'10" to 6 foot in stature, wearing dark clothing. The second incident took place on Friday, September 30th, 2022, shortly after midnight. Two suspects circled the area of Bathurst Street and Eglinton Avenue West, following the victim who was driving their 2017 Ferrari motor vehicle. That victim was in the company of another person. Both occupants exited the vehicle and were making their way towards a residence when suspects in a dark color BMW parked behind the victim's Ferrari. The suspects exited their vehicle and approached the victims, demanding the keys to the Ferrari. One of the suspects brandished a knife, gestured towards the victim, and demanded the keys. The victim relinquished his keys, and the suspect fled in the victim's vehicle. No injuries were sustained in this incident, and obtained was a 2017 Ferrari, rare one, valued at approximately $1 million. In a second related incident to this carjacking, on Sunday, November the 6th, 2022, at approximately 1:03 a.m., the victim was in the area of St. Clair Avenue West and Avenue Road in his 2018 Ferrari and was parking his vehicle. Once that vehicle was parked, the victim exited his vehicle and noticed a person walking towards him. The suspect exited a vehicle that was being driven by an accomplice, and that suspect walked up to the victim holding a knife, aggressively went through the victim's pockets until the Ferrari key was located. Suspect drove off at a high rate of speed in the stolen vehicle in tandem with the getaway vehicle. The victim unfortunately suffered minor injuries, receiving a small laceration to his hand, and obtained in that robbery was a 2018 Ferrari valued in excess of $300,000. I should note that both stolen vehicles have since been recovered. The hold-up squad carjacking investigative team, dubbed the Carjacking Task Force, did enter into a joint investigation with the Organized Crime Investigative Support Unit, and after an extensive investigation, 4 suspects were identified as being responsible for the 2 incidents I just described. On November 22nd, 2022, 3 out of the 4 suspects were arrested. Samuel Wincenti, Wincenty, 22 years of age. Bodan Petrohilos, Beaudon, Petrohelos, also 22 years of age, and Elliot Rains, 24 years of age, all of Toronto, have been charged with 2 counts of robbery with a weapon, conspiracy to commit an indictable offense, disguise with intent, and possession of property obtained by crime over $5,000. Search warrants were executed at related residences, and several items of evidentiary value were located and seized. One suspect remains outstanding, identified as Ryan Tyson, Tyson, 23 years, of Toronto. He's also sought in relation to an incident that took place in October last year, where he evaded a police investigation and struck an officer assigned to the Gun and Gang Task Force with a vehicle that he was operating. Warrants have been issued for his arrest. In relation to his role in the carjacking robberies, he is wanted for conspiracy to commit an indictable offense, and a warrant has also been issued for his arrest for the offenses of attempt murder, dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, failure to stop for police, and multiple firearm and drug-related offenses. He is described as male white, having a thin build, approximately 6'1" in stature, short hair, and possibly unshaven. He too should be considered armed and dangerous. And finally, this third incident details a violent home invasion that took place during the evening hours of Wednesday, November 30th, 2022, at approximately 8:45 p.m. Two armed male suspects with their identities concealed by ski masks approached the victim in the underground parking lot of their condominium located in the Liberty Street and Dufferin Street area. The victim was getting into their vehicle when they were blocked by a suspect vehicle. Suspects got into the victim's vehicle and pointed a handgun at them. The victim was handcuffed and had a ski mask placed on their head. The suspects then escorted the victim up to their condominium unit, where another tenant was present, and they too were also placed in handcuffs. The suspects proceeded to ransack the unit, placing items of value into duffel bags that they had brought with them. Both victims were forced into and secured in a bedroom within the unit. A short time later, a third victim and a person that was known to the two original victims attended the unit and confronted the suspects. Unfortunately, that victim was shot 3 times by the suspects. The victims fled the scene with a quantity of property obtained by the home invasion robbery, and the victim who was shot was transported by emergency run to a trauma center where they underwent emergency life-saving surgery. Thankfully, that victim has survived, but has suffered some life-altering injuries. In the ensuing intensive investigation by members of the Whole-Up Squad, with assistance of members of 14 Division Primary Response Unit and Forensic Identification Services, Boaz Frimpong, B-O-A-Z, F-R-I-M-P-O-N-G, 28 years, of Durham Region, was identified. A warrant has been issued for his arrest, and again, I'm seeking the public's assistance in locating Mr. Frimpong, and strongly suggest that all these individuals contact legal counsel and turn themselves in immediately. Mr. Frimpong is facing the following charges: forcible confinement, robbery while armed with a firearm, attempted murder, and possession of property obtained by crime over $5,000. He is described as male, black, 6'1", 240 pounds, has black hair and brown eyes, and he should be considered armed and dangerous. In addition, the Whole-Up Squad investigators are seeking public assistance in identifying the second male in this robbery I just described, the home invasion. He's described as male black, approximately 5'10" to 6 feet tall, with a heavy build. He was wearing a dark winter jacket, dark face covering, and black running shoes. In conclusion, as I've said before, we at the Whole-Up Squad and the Toronto Police Service understand these types of crimes can have a lasting impact on victims, whether they are physically injured or not. This is why we continue to investigate and are seeking the public's help in finding these individuals who are clearly violent and pose a threat to public safety. Subject to any questions, that's where we're at with the update for 2022.
Inspector, were any firearms recovered in any of these cases?
Yes, firearm, and again, I've got to give the caveat that these are all ongoing investigations, but I can tell you that in the investigation involving Mr. Tyson, a firearm and a quantity of controlled substances were located.
In the video for the Ferrari robbery, you see the gray BMW pulling back out again, and then someone walks up to the car. Is that the owner of the vehicle?
No. So the video that you're seeing here does not depict the robbery. This is pre-robbery, and the video that you see after the fact is post-robbery.
You see the cars pull in. You see the Ferrari go into park. At what point was the Ferrari taken, and who's the other gentleman that's?
If we could play it again, as you see the Ferrari being parked, we're alleging that that's already, the robbery has already taken place, and that's being driven by the suspects.
So then who's the gentleman that goes up to the gray BMW at the end, do you know? Who think was wearing white with us?
That is an associate slash accomplice of one of the accused persons.
The last home invasion, David, is that the one at Western Battery Road in Liberty Village?
I can only give you a geographic area, but I do want to, in efforts to, again, protect the privacy of the victims involved. It was in the area of Liberty Street, and I forgot the cross-section there, sorry. And Dufferin, yes.
You said the two cars were recovered. Were they recovered on their own, or were they part of a larger recovery? Because I know York Region just had a big reveal of a bust they did of car thieves. Were they one-off, or was it a bigger ring?
No, these vehicles were found separately as part of the ongoing investigation into these carjackings. Like I mentioned, we entered into an extensive investigation with members of the OSIS team, and through assistance from 14 Division, we were able to through the assistance with OSIS, we were able to locate these vehicles.
You mentioned in the carjackings that in the release it states that the vehicles have been recovered. Have you been able to obtain more information as to exactly what kind of operation these men were involved with? And can you kind of disclose a little bit more about the state that they were found in, or what the circumstances were?
Again, keeping in mind that these are active investigations, I can tell you that the vehicles were found in an area that we're going to suggest were left by the persons who committed the robbery, destined to be, again, picked up, we were alleging, at a later date. They were found not too long after the incidents took place, and again, as part of an ongoing investigation. Unfortunately, I can't get too much deeper into it.
In the last home invasion, is there any reason to believe the suspects and the victim were known to one another? I mean, it seems like kind of a bizarre case where someone gets followed into the underground and is forced to their unit.
The extent, if any, that are known between the suspects and the victims are yet to be determined. This appears to be a crime of opportunity. What the suspects or perpetrators knew and their mindset is only something that they can explain. I don't know if there was a relationship whatsoever.
Did you say that there was a third person that came in and confronted somebody that was known to him when you were? I thought you said.
So sorry. The third person slash victim who ended up being shot knew the two original victims. The third victim came to the aid of the two victims, and unfortunately was shot. And lucky to be alive.
Members of the public to be aware of their surroundings. What can the average person do to make sure they're in a position to not be vulnerable to these kinds of situations?
Know your surroundings is one of the key messages, and it's been part of the messaging that we did in 2022, and we continue to do as well now. Know your surroundings when it comes to the carjackings. Of course, please, I've said it before, do not resist. Your safety far outweighs the value of the vehicle. The same applies with any robbery. We suggest that the victims comply with the demands, commit what they've seen to memory, and call the police at their earliest opportunity. Invest in great security capabilities, if at all possible. Dash cam footage, security capabilities within the store locations, et cetera, are obviously valuable to the investigations that ensue that are led by the hold-up squad. But again, knowing your surroundings and having a safety plan in place are utmost key in ensuring your safety and reducing the likelihood of harm.
We take a little bit of a detour and talk. We've heard a lot lately on social media about pharmacy robberies. Larger, similar to what happens in a liquor store, where gangs of people masked, hooded with duffel bags go in and steal large amounts of pharmaceutical items. Also, there have been incidents of makeup counters being pillaged and robbed and things like that. Can you address that, or is there something going on? Has there been a frequency in that?
Yeah,
With prices rising and a shortage of supply, like, does that lead to that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt that we saw an uptick in pharmacy robberies last year, and again, we see that concern again this year. The vast majority of pharmacy robberies where they're targeting the narcotics screams that there's a demand for narcotics, aka opioids. It is a problem that we are staying on top of. We've built great relationships with communities that are affected on the corporate side of things, and also the neighborhoods where the pharmacists actually work. Again, we stress that there be a level of vigilance, things to look out for, but collectively, when you see more than two or three people coming in and one person staying at the door, I personally don't go to the pharmacy with friends of mine. So these are not to say that this is the only reason why you're gonna draw your attention, but things to be alert for. Invest in good security technology, and I know there's been discussions with the time safes, and it's been introduced in some locations as well. But on a larger scale, again, the preventative piece is also being pushed by crime prevention officers who are going out there daily and speaking to the pharmacies with methods that they can use to reduce the likelihood of being robbed. We're also paying special attention through the use of analytics to where these are taking place, and paying special attention. So the intention would be to thwart the intention of would-be robbers. It is a growing concern, not only for the service, but for the whole-up squad. And I can assure you, we have excellent investigators, and those that would ply their trade doing pharmacy robberies are going to feel the full investigative weight of the whole-up squad.
Where would these pharmaceuticals end up? Just in the community, or are they like? Do you think it's they're stealing exactly, and then breaking down the chemical, or are the drugs being used as they were intended by the manufacturer, just sold at a different rate, or are they being taken apart by these thieves and just the opioids extracted, or whatever you can do?
The end product, I can't say definitively. I do know that often the narcotic safes are targeted. Quite often they are specific, seeking Oxy, seeking Percocet, and what form they're sold in or used or consumed is anyone's guess.
Last year, you talked about the staggering rise in the number of carjackings that we were seeing in and around the GTA. Obviously, bearing in mind it's still quite early in the beginning of the year here. What have we seen year to date so far?
What have I seen, sorry?
So far this year.
So far, the numbers are on par with last year's numbers. And having said that, I'm optimistic to announce some arrests and some ongoing investigations in the near future. We do have persons of interest identified in many of the investigations, but again, these things do take time and a lot of investigative legwork behind them. Last year, we saw the whole-up squad took care of 171 incidents in 2022. Of those cases, many of those have been either solved or persons of interest have been identified. And that's in part thanks to the communities that offer their input either through making phone calls directly to police and or the use of Crime Stoppers program.
Going back to the home invasion, robbery in Liberty Village, were the ballistics on those bullets traced back to any other crimes, any other connection to any other crimes being committed using that weapon?
To be quite honest, I'm not too sure at this time, but it is again an ongoing investigation, and those things, the comparison of ballistics do sometimes take time as well.
One more question?
I'll take it. Lastly, last year we heard a lot about it's higher end vehicles, it's these specific models that a lot of people are looking for. Given the knowledge that's been accrued in the last year or so, is it still the case that we are looking at high-end vehicles, or are they simply expanding, and looking at other vehicles as well? Is anyone basically, vulnerable?
We're looking at many different uses. So the high-end vehicles, where you're seeing the higher-end vehicles targeted and sold domestically or abroad for profit. We're seeing also the not-so-high-end vehicles being stolen and utilized in various other crimes, many of them investigated by the whole-up squad, namely pharmacy robberies. jewelry store robberies. Some have been involved in shooting incidents. So it's, I couldn't give you the exact number, but there's definitely a mix and a divide, and almost predictable once a carjacking happens, where a not so high-end vehicle is used, we're on the lookout for it popping up in other offenses that are investigated by the hold-up squad. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for coming today.